All right. I'm gonna lie, I was sorry for the late start. I went out. I stopped watching the game and I went outside. And then I came back and saw we scored. So I had to rewind because I wanted to see exactly what happened and how we scored. Saw all of that. Then I was kind of vibing out to the music, right? I ain't gonna lie about that. But what is going on, Florida State family? Seminole Nation and the 863 tribe. It's your boy Pope, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth. Florida State falls to Miami with 36-14. And I'll be honest with you, I could give a damn less. Could give a damn less. Hit that like button, share the video. We are live here Saturday, which might have been the most lackluster rival, like lead up to a rivalry game. I mean, this was just, and then the game itself was boring. Got a few takes we got to get to, obviously. I got a few things. But as you can tell, I'm not tripping over what I just watched because at the end of the day, for one, you should have known. And for two, honestly, if you watch the way the game played out, I'm not even sure you should be upset. I mean, I'm not here for any moral victories. I promise you I'm not. But I mean, this is going on. We're 1-7. This has been going on for weeks. I told you guys weeks ago what the expectation would be, why you should not even be watching this stuff. I'll watch it for you. Just please, just show up on the post game reaction. I'll tell you everything that happened. You feel me? Like there's nothing to really like get in here and cry about. If I'm being quite honest with you, we're just gonna talk about some facts. We're gonna go over the facts here tonight. So again, hit that like button. Y'all already know. Pay the bills. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Share. And you here on the most interactive show for the Florida State football fan, in my opinion, 863 Seminole TV. So do what you do and come in, show some love, whatever. Miami fans, feel free to brag about a very lackluster performance, in my opinion. But hey, it is what it is. I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, you got to win. So you're going to always take that to the bank. You broke the 3-game losing streak. So good for you guys. So let's just not waste too much time. Well, by the way, I got the Colorado game on here in the back. Colorado's already up 7-0. Gotta say, man, good shout out to Colorado, man. They have really turned the tide here. Turn the tide here. So let's get into it. Like I'm not even gonna. I just got some takes. By the way, you see, I'm back in the lab. I'm back on American soil. Back in the lab, back in this beautiful backdrop. I've missed it so much, and I'm back. And, I'm glad to see you guys here with me. So let's just get into it. And the first obvious take, man. And this, I want to be very clear with what I'm about to say, because this isn't an indictment necessarily on Brock Glenn. If I'm just being honest with you, I don't. It's not an indictment, but I think they're going to continue to go with the 2-quarterback system because I think you do have to keep Brock Glenn engaged to some degree. You got to at least give the illusion, I believe, that he is going to be a factor potentially in that quarterback battle that's going to happen this offseason and all of those good things. So you do have to keep him engaged. You got to keep him, in the mix. But honestly, Luke Kromenhoek should get majority of the snaps going forward. That is the first takeaway I have. And that's not necessarily an indictment on Brock. Brock has moments. Luke obviously will have his moments. But I think the future and the plan that you're trying to sell for the young players on the team, the potential young players you're trying to get into this program, whoever you're going to target in the transfer portal, whoever you still have as a potential recruiting, targets on your board. You've got to. The vision has to be that 14 is the future, I believe. And so again, the first take I have is Luke Kromenhoek should get the bulk or majority of the snaps. just simply going forward. I do think, again, you got to keep Brock Glenn engaged. But the message that should be sending is Luke Kromenhoek is the future. Mix him in with a couple of these young players who, again, we already know. These young, speaking of these skilled players, they're going to have their bad plays. They're going to have their good plays. You got to keep them all involved. You got to keep them all in the mix here with that vision of what this offense can be potentially going forward. Of course, that also goes with staff changes. Everything that happens in this offseason is going to be pivotal at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, continue to go with Luke, in my opinion, just to show, again, players that like that is the vision going forward for this football team. The major hindrance going forward, and I'm really strictly speaking of next year, guys. I mean, this year's in the mud. It's in the toilet. It's been in the toilet since week freaking 2. I mean, I know people thought we were jumping the gun, but we watched enough of that football team to know that it was a bad team from the jump. But it's one of the biggest hindrances going forward is I don't know who's on the offensive line, and quite frankly, I don't care. Like, I can't wait till 53 is no longer my center, that I don't have to see 52 out there ever again. I know he's trying. Don't get me wrong. But he's been washed, and I know he's out there. He's not like he's not playing hard. It's not like he's not trying, but I mean, come on. There's just certain guys that we don't want to. 63, can we please get him out of this program? So there's a lot of guys that it's going to be very fun to see not play next year on that offensive line specifically. The question is going to be, though, who is going to be an entirely new group? Who's going to be on that group? I have no idea who's going to be your center, but as long as it's not 53, as far as I'm concerned, that's a plus. I don't know who's going to be your tackles. As long as it's not 63, that's going to be a plus. Is Rizzy, who I think, Rizzy had seemed like he played solid. I don't know what he's going to grade out as. I didn't see any major bust from Jacob Rizzy. I think so. Rizzy might be a veteran. I know he's listed as a senior, but I believe he said in an interview he has a couple years of eligibility. So we'll see what happens with that. Just strictly speaking offensively, like the offensive line is going to be the major focal point, obviously, in this offseason. And it's going to be what either makes or breaks this offense going forward, obviously, because we think we have a quarterback battle going to the offseason. I believe Luke Kromenhoek will win the battle in the offseason. You're getting Dustin Hill back next year. And this is all preferenced that you don't lose any major guys out of transfer portal. We saw a lot of LaWayne McCoy tonight. We saw Elijah Moore on the field finally. I even saw BJ Gibson out there. So they're playing the young receivers. Amari Williams had a pretty good catch on that final drive from Brock Glenn. Landon Thomas had a first down catch in it. So you got the young tight ends that are promising. You've got some young receiving options that I believe are promising. So as far as I'm concerned, you have pieces to build this offense next year. You got to figure out the O-line, obviously, and that'll be what it is. As far as this game, one of the takes from this game, again, doesn't have much to do with Florida State because we know what Florida State is. But let's talk about Miami for a little bit because Miami's now in that they're in that window. Okay, the seasons we're past the midway point. And now these losses, and you can see it in this game, Miami. And it's a rivalry game, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. I don't blame Mario for doing what he tried to do at the end of that game. They had to run trick plays to get touchdowns. They wanted to put their foot on the neck, so to speak, and they wanted to up that score. I don't blame them. Because for one, we already saw what the committee will do to a team. We saw it last year with this team, right? So Miami's got to try to make a statement. Miami's got to try to make a statement. But if we're really just talking about the Miami Hurricanes, in all honesty, guys, I know Miami fans ain't gonna like it. But I think there's some legit facts here. That defense that the Miami Hurricanes have is very poor. It's like if we just had an average offense, there were so many plays there to be had by our offense. I mean, in that one play, and I understand why Luke threw this ball because it looked like Toafili got held, and I think he was trying to draw a hold. The refs didn't call it. Can't flag, no flag, it doesn't matter. But I think it was Kentron. Somebody's running wide open down the middle of the offense, of the defense. That would have went for 6. Granted, if he catches the football. The point is, I mean, I don't think Miami's better than Clemson. I think Clemson would have an easy time with these Hurricanes, if I'm being quite honest with you. I mean, I know there's been a lot of questions about, is this Miami team, could they beat last year's Florida State team? I don't really even think that's a question. I mean, Miami just literally played the worst FSU team in its history. Like, that's not even hyperbole. That is a quantifiable fact. You are looking at the worst FSU team, arguably in at least since the 70s. So in the modern football era, you're looking at the worst Florida State team that's been fielded. And I mean, Miami should have did to us what we did to them 2 years ago. This should have been a 45-3 game. This shouldn't have looked competitive. And yet it did. Now, granted, we know our offense can't score over 14. Our offense can't score more than 14 points a game. So the fact that Miami couldn't throw up in the 40s, I mean, you're talking about the number one offense. Statistically, you're looking at the number one offense in the country. Again, in the comments, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Is Miami not the number one offense in the country? And the fact that they played, I mean, Cam Ward, he didn't lose the Heisman this game, but he damn sure didn't help his case. You're talking about a guy who's the best Miami quarterback they've had in 30 years. Again, this is all according to Miami fans. I mean, to play like that against this Florida State team, in my opinion, I mean, when you see a real Heisman contender, when you see the Jameis Winstons, you see what they do to mediocre to bad teams. And I just feel like everything I saw from the Hurricanes, I mean, and again, I've been watching Miami for more majority of the year, lackluster against Cal, lackluster against Virginia Tech. You know, again, Miami fans don't have to agree. They're not going to agree, and they have all the rights to brag. They won the game, but I don't know if you're Miami. If you're a legit Miami football fan, I don't know how you come out of this game and go, yeah, we can compete with Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia. Like, you're talking about, if we're trying to put them in the big dog conversation of college football, with the schedule that they've played and the results that they're playing these bad football, like Cal's not a good football team, and you were down, 35-10 or something against that team. Florida State's not a good football team by any metric. Virginia Tech's football. Like, Miami isn't in that category, and I think this game, in a lot of ways, solidified that, if I'm being quite honest with you. And again, I know Miami fans aren't going to agree with me, but they got the dub at the end of the day. Again, they don't play Clemson until potentially an ACC championship game. I don't know. Does Miami play Pitt? I'm not so sure. I don't know if they play Pitt. And Pitt's looking like a sleeper in the. Pitt's looking like a really good team. I think they play SMU. If I'm not, I'm pretty sure they play SMU. I think they play Duke next week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Canes. At the end of the day, though, it is. At the end of the day, I think Miami fans, you have the right to brag. You have the right to say what you want to say. But I have to believe that anybody that actually watches football, or if you can put the orange and green tinted glasses to the side for 5 seconds, and I think most of them would say, I don't know how that team plays against some of the big dogs, especially that defense. That offense might be able to score with a few, but that defense, man, will have its way, or teams will have its way with that defense as far as the Canes go. So, it is what it is. Good luck, I guess, to the Hurricanes for the rest of the season. Florida State, again, moves to 1-7. I'm not even sure who we play next week. That's actually a great question. Who do the Seminoles play next week? Let me look it up real quick. And you can drop it in the chat. But I'm not even sure who we play. I'm at the point where I don't even know. Again, it doesn't really matter. North Carolina. Maybe we can win that game. I mean, there's a chance. Again, we can't score, but North Carolina is not a good football team. So then our next game, November 2nd, is the North Carolina Tar Heels. Maybe we can win that game. And then you got Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and Florida to close out the season. There's a chance we win 2 out of those 4. I'm looking at North Carolina and Charleston Southern specifically. There's a chance that we can win, a couple games and maybe finish with what would that be? 3 wins? 3 wins. So I haven't got to any comments. So let me get to some comments and see what y'all talking about. I don't even know where I want to start. I can scroll up. Let's scroll up to who. I'll start with a Miami fan. Just you guys got the win, so I'll start with Galaxy here. And Galaxy says, little bro played with heart. With hard. No Diddy. I don't think they played with the hard on tonight, but they did play with heart. As a Miami fan, this was a decent game. Okay. Hell Cam Ward to 0 passing TDs. I mean, again, like they had to. I mean, the game was pretty stagnant for a majority of it. Some late game scores got Miami a few touchdowns. They had to run the trick play to Cam Ward to get the touchdown. They had a late touchdown run. And then FSU had a late touchdown to kind of, close the gap a little bit. So, stagnant game. Mike got to run up the score next year because the Cuban tried to embarrass us. And the QB next year, we should be okay. But I wonder about Miami, who they got. No defense, played very well for the most part. I mean, it's kind of what I said it's basically what I said in the halftime. When we were talking halftime, it's like, look at that run by 5. That was a good run. Again, I had no faith that the offense was really going to get any traction, and you can't continue to put that defense out there, man. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. So, those played pretty decent defense. Cam Ward was held for less than 250 passing yards and 4 sacks. If we want to talk about more about this game, I am a little surprised. If there's one thing I'm surprised about more than anything else, I'm surprised at how regularly FSU was in that backfield harassing Cam Ward. That actually surprised me a little bit. I was surprised how much the O-line did a very good job at times, not going to lie, but I was really surprised that FSU was able to get as much pressure as they were, as they ended up getting. So maybe against a team with more D-line depth, maybe they would who knows? Joe says, having a true freshman third string as your certified starter should make you realize football isn't for you. I'm not really sure what that comment means, Joe. I'll be honest with you. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Braxton says, it's so hard to decide what I'm more disappointed in this season. QB play, O-line play, well, the offense. You summed it up, Braxton. You don't have to go any further. The offense. The offense is terrible at every single level. That's really the sad part about this season. The sad part is that the offense is that bad. That's what you should be most disappointed about. Again, it's really not even me like trying to make an excuse for Adam Fuller because I'm not. And I'm tired of seeing an Adam Fuller led defense. It's just so eh. But it's outperform. If we had an average offense, this team obviously wouldn't be 1-7. If we just had an average offense, don't have to be great, just average offense. This is a better football team. Obviously, the offense has killed this football team. Antoine says, Cam Ward looked real pedestrian. That secondary did their job. Damn D line can't stop the run. Miami had a very good success running the football. And again, that just the interior of the defense. And I'm strictly talking about, Farmer, who I believe is a good player, is not a run stuffer. He's more of one of those pass rushers at the defensive tackle position. Darrell Jackson's supposed to be your clogging up the middle type guy. And, he had a good game tonight. He had 2 sacks. Credit to Jackson, by the way. Yeah, he had a good game. But he doesn't do much in the run. But the linebackers have improved. I will give them that credit. Randy Stanton still needs to be fired immediately. But they have improved since the first game of the season, for sure. Like Omar Graham, tremendous football game the last 2 weeks, especially tonight. Omar Graham's played his ass off. Linebacking core as a whole, I think, has gotten a lot better. Ace says Hakeem needs a transfer. He don't have the Keon or Johnny takeover effect. Danzy did get a snap. I saw him get 1 carry. I don't know if he got any more snaps than that, but I did see him get the 1 carry. Joe says, one thing about Norvell, he's going to throw underclassmen in during a meaningful game. Otherwise, they don't see the field. Well, he needs to play them during the rest of the season, quite frankly. Let me catch up in the comments. Let's see. I'm going to just skim through. If I see something I like, I'll highlight you. But again, man, hit the like button. Corey says, Clemson go mutt their ass, but he might as well run with Luke the rest of the way to keep recruits. Cam Ward is a scramble drill. That's one thing. Other than his arm talent, I think Cam Ward has big-time arm talent. But one of the things that he does particularly well is he extends plays. A lot of the plays that Miami was actually able to get in the passing game, FSU covered extremely well. FSU couldn't get him on the ground. He's very good at extending the play. He keeps his eyes down the field. And I don't care how good the coverage is, guys can't cover for 10 seconds, 12 seconds. You can't cover forever. And he was able to find a few guys. FSU continues to lock up Restrepo. It's funny to me how Miami fans talk so much about Restrepo being whatever he's supposed to be. I feel like every time he plays Florida State, he's a non-factor. Complete AWOL, pretty much again, for Xavier Restrepo. Maurice says, man, look, this is the worst Nolan Steve of all time versus the only good Miami team since 2001. Y'all be quiet. I hear you. And again, y'all have every right to brag. Shout out. Like, I'm not knocking that. Like, y'all got a good team. I just wish we could have both had good teams at the same time. But y'all do have a good team. Let me, again, just catching up here in the comments, guys. Key, Prosper. Yeah, okay. I'm a little disappointed on the game, but I knew all along going into the game we just needed to run the ball, which was the game plan. I felt like there were, Colorado just scored again. This looks like it's about to be a shootout here tonight. I actually thought FSU on some zone runs actually looked pretty competent running the football. we were able to get about 4 yards on first down specifically. We were actually able to get in front of the chains. Like, this is where we're at as a program right now. Well, we got to take those little things to build to better things. Yeah, I thought they were able to run the ball well on first downs for the most part, about 4 or 5 yards per carry. Usually those second down plays were kind of killing us. Some of it had to do with play calling. Some of it was just lack of execution. Again, when we talk about youth movement, guys, I told you before, and we'll just continue to reiterate it. Don't I'm watching, obviously, during the games. Like, I'm on social media, I'm on Twitter, I'm reading the feeds or whatever. I guess what I'm saying is don't come too hard. Don't come down too hard on freshmen when they don't make, like, you guys wanted the youth. I wanted the youth. Just understand what comes with it. Whether that's miss blocking assignments, drop passes, wrong routes, like those, like, if that's what you want, and we've all agreed, like, that's what we want, those things are just kind of come. Jen says, why is it on 3rd and 1 and we know they're going to run it? Do we only rush for it? Even the announcers mentioned that. Antonio says, I'm interested in what changes Mike is going to make in the offseason. He has to. Like, you say if he makes any at all, he has to. I think he has to. I'm pretty sure he has to. Like, that. I don't think that's a question. I think he has to. There's no way you can go into next season and not have made any staff changes. Like, he has to, right? He has to. Clayton says, I'm going to believe this season will be a major learning lesson for Mike. He's going to get rid of coaches on both sides, double down on high school recruiting, and relinquish play calling dudes. That's a lot to ask. I believe he will get rid of coaches on both sides. Who and how many is the bigger question. The high school recruiting and relinquishing play call. That's, again, you're asking a leopard to change his spots, and I'm not so sure he will do that, if I'm just being quite honest with you. Raymond James says, I agree with you. I believe in the offense is just average, scoring 24 points a game. It would enhance our defense. Still don't like DB's fight. I mean, again, that's all defensive. That's the defensive scheme. That's all defensive play calling right there. So, absolutely. 7 had 3 catches in 2 games. Again, lockdown. He's, he'll be a pretty good slot corner in the NFL. He'll be a pretty good slot guy. Maurice Loves with the $5. Said, brother, I do not care nothing about Miami. I'm gassing Luke right now. Luke hit him with that Looney Tunes escape, the pile trick for about 40 yards. Let's go, Luke. Hey, man, that was the highlight of the game if you're an FSU fan. So shout out to Luke. Shout out to Maurice with the $5 dono. I appreciate that, my man. And I got to do it, even though we lost. I got to do it. Bitch, be humble. Bitch, sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Just be a little humble, Miami fans. Be a little humble. Mike not giving up play calling. It's really, I probably agree a lot with Corey here. I actually think if you go back and watch a lot of these games, my problem, there have been play calling problems. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely more so of execution. I think my biggest problem though with the play calling is not understanding what your team can execute and can't execute, and continue to call the things that you can't execute has been my biggest problem with Mike Norvell's play calling, I think. But there definitely have been plays there. I agree. Like there's a lot of plays that just, if guys actually blocked a guy or guys did X, Y, and Z, that the play's there. Again, the problem is You know what like you should know what they can and can't execute. Um, so there it is. There, but we continue to call it things that I guess we have struggle to execute. Y'all hear me out. This is my honest take. I feel like changing the assistants won't make a difference. It starts with the man at the top. The assistants are just his scapegoats. It depends on if we're strictly talking offense. It depends on how much Mike's going to continue to be involved in play calling duties. Defensively, I disagree because he's not hands on with the defense, right? So again, and I don't think he's going to fire Fuller. I would love for him to. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I think if you did fire Fuller and got a better defensive staff, I actually think you would see a stark a difference on defense because there's a bunch of talent there. I mean, just speaking of defense right now, I spoke a lot about the young offensive pieces. Like, I'm intrigued by that future safety. I don't even want to see Shaheem Brown anymore. He's had a terrible season. But if you give me Earl Little and Kirkland at that safety, obviously you're gonna throw in some. Did anybody see Conrad Hussey tonight? I don't recall. I'm not saying he didn't play. He just didn't. But I saw Earl Little. Not only did I see him flying all over the field, I saw him trying to take guys' heads off. Right? Shout out to Earl. And obviously Kirkland has really been playing well since they've kind of given him that extra role in the defense. So guys like that, I think you have the talent to build this defense. Obviously, Omar Graham and Blake Nicholson, like those are your future linebackers. You got the talent there on the on the defensive side of the ball. At least linebackers. And we still haven't seen the Kai Bates and the Lesters. We'll probably see them once Cypress and AZ are out of here. Edwin, though we've seen plenty of Edwin this year, like those guys, I think there's a bright spot on the defense for sure. And if you get the right guy in there, I think the defense can make a complete change. Offensively, I agree with you. If he's going to continue to have his hands all over the offense, then the offense probably doesn't change much. Hussey was on a punt team. Says Adam Fuller has to go. There's enough of a sample size to know. I don't disagree. Again, I don't disagree. I just don't think he's going to do it. And again, the one saving grace you can say for Fuller is his defense. And this entire tenure, and Mike Norvell's entire tenure, you could argue his defense has outperformed the offense year in and year out. Year in and year out, his defense has pretty much outperformed the offense. So, Fuller's real vanilla on third with the pressure. A.k.a. got blitz and let the running back leak out with no backer to cover him. Converted 3rd and 20. Yeah. I don't understand why we go to zone. You listen to Adam Fuller, and he talks a lot about, we're primarily a man defense, and that's what we run, but it's like in critical situations, he goes to zone, and as we always give up the play in zone. I don't know why he just doesn't run man all the time. Forget the zone at this point, but there's a lot of things Adam Fuller does that I don't like. You got some valid points, but here's my question: how much of our good talent, and that's something you'll never like. That's something we won't know till it happens. To be fair, you're right. That's as much as I am intrigued by the offseason, as much as I think that again, it's not as this. You can just tell by my demeanor and my voice, like this season is a wash for me. But I'm pissed because it's not. I don't look at this team and go, "There's no talent here." I look at this team and go, "This talent has been used piss poorly, and this staff has been really loyal to guys that, frankly, we should have recruited. Or we should have, like, if we're just being honest, we should have recruited over Maurice Smith 2 years ago. We should have recruited over Darius Washington 2 years ago. We should have recruited over Kentron Portier 2 years ago. Like, if we're really being honest, that's the biggest problem I have with this team, is that the talent that we relied on should have been recruited over. Some of them probably should have never even been at this program, but I understand at the time you had to take who you can get. And the fact that we weren't able to do some of those things is the big concerning part. So now you definitely have to ask the question, do some of these young receivers stick around? Do the young offensive linemen who aren't playing and shouldn't play, by the way, do they stick around? Do the young tight ends who have shown some flashes, do they stick around? Does a Charles Lester, who we haven't seen play, stick around? Do these guys stick around, or do they try to go elsewhere? That's the biggest question. That's the biggest worry. But ultimately, you can't control that, and you got to be ready to fill the void if guys come or go. And again, Cincinnati and Colorado probably about to be a shootout here. Keep the comments coming, those guys. Let's pick up some more conversation pieces. Honestly, I don't even know what to talk about. I'm letting you guys drive most of the conversation because, again, it's I'm not sure what we are talking about here that we haven't talked about already for the first 8 weeks. It's, again, 1-7. Like we've pretty much hit the nail on. We've hit it at every part. At the end of the day, we're beating a dead horse the more we talk about the same old. Staff changes, we already know, right? Personnel changes, we already know. Not playing the right quarterbacks at the right time, we already know. Offensive line being just like, if it wasn't for this O-line class, who, if I'm Mike Norvell, I got my finger on the trigger to fire Atkins, quite frankly, if I'm Mike Norvell. And the only thing that's keeping Atkins, in my opinion, employed is this class. But I don't think Solomon Thomas sticks. The other three, because we have Solomon Thomas, Mario Nash, is it Kirkland? And then the other guard that we recently like. And I don't really, not to, say that those other guys aren't good players. But if Solomon Thomas leaves, in my opinion, Atkins should be fired. And I don't think he sticks. FSU has a history. Let's just go over the history of it. The number one recruit in our class for the last, 3-4 years? He bolts come early signing day. Whether that's Keldrick Falk, KJ Bolden, obviously Travis Hunter, who's playing on TV right now, right? Our top guys who we always are going to have a guy that's going to dip. And I think it's probably going to be Solomon Thomas. Right now, he's the highest rated guy you have left in this class. And I don't have a lot of confidence that FSU holds on to that. But I think that's the only thing that keeps Atkins employed is if he lands that class, which is a good O-line class. That is a good offensive line class. And when you look at the offensive line, you got to ask yourself, Solomon Thomas probably plays day one. Because next year's O-line is going to be a crapshoot. I don't know who's playing what. Like, I think that they played a lot of Jalen Early this year, and they played a lot of Andre Otto this year. So you got to think that one of those two guys might, they'll be in the mix. Will we see Armello? Will we see a Lucas Simmons? Rizzy? What about some of the other guys like Jonathan Daniels and the other offensive tackle we recruited this past year? So they got guys I couldn't tell you who. Oh, I think Colorado just got an interception, but there's a flag, so I don't know if it's going to be an interference or what. It looks like Colorado just got a pick, but it looks like that might be coming back. Um, so yeah, I couldn't answer that question. Norvell has a 40% chance to survive this. When you say survive this, what do you mean? And that 40% chance, what is that? What is that alluding to, Lewis? A lot of the recruits were at the game poking. I mean, don't get me. I hope he sticks, Panama. I'm just following the trends. Just following the trends is all I'm saying. And the trends say FSU's going to lose that guy. Armella and Cristobal were kissing on mid. Were kissing. What they like hugged it out. I mean, hey man, these kids build relationships with coaches. I'm sure they had a good relationship. Maybe he transfers to Miami. I'll tell you this, and it's 14. If he's either down at the 1 or that's 14 all. But I'll tell you this: if there's an offensive line coach that you want to trust, I mean, I think Cuban Jesus would get the most out of Armella. I'll say that much. Because again, I'm saying that I think Atkins won't be fired because of this class. But if I'm being honest with you, who really cares? Because recruiting really hasn't been Atkins' problem now, has it? Atkins has recruited some players. I mean, Armella was a pretty high-rated offensive lineman. Jalen Early was a 4-star. We don't even have to go into the guys that left the program that were 4 stars. And then the last year's O-line class was pretty solid too. You signed 2 blue-chip prospects, and Jonathan Daniels and Manasseh. You got some project guys, which you always sign. His recruiting hasn't necessarily been the problem, right? None of his guys can get on the field. It's his problem. He doesn't develop anything is Alex Atkins' problem. We're 5 years in, and we're still playing Maurice Smith and Darius Washington and Robert Scott. That's an issue. And relying on transfer portal O-linemen to fill in the holes because the guys he's recruited can't fill those holes. That's the issue. The fact that we play Jeremiah Byers is the issue. I don't even think I saw Ferguson tonight, but the fact that we were running 69 out there for the first 7 weeks of the season is the issue, right? So that's the problem. Atkins, Dugans, Odell, Randy, JP all need to go without question. Preaching to the choir. We have hit the portal like it's 21-22 all over again, but it's imperative we get new blood on the staff to improve high school recruiting. Agreed. That's my point, James. You're definitely not wrong. Shout out to the state champs. You absolutely beat Miami. Excuse me. You beat the Gators and you beat us, state champs. Good job, Zay. You beat again the worst Florida State team in history. I actually think Florida seems to have turned it around, and they got DJ Lagway, and I don't think Florida. I mean, Georgia will probably kill them, but I think Billy might not get fired the way Florida has kind of played lately. So, you know. You gotta give them their moment. They don't care if FSU's bad. They just want to. They can have it. Again, excuse me. It's one of the reasons why I'm not like so. It's like that's why the loss doesn't mean much. I'm not sure FSU could. I don't know, man. I'm not so sure FSU could beat a high school team at this point. I asked this before, but do y'all think Mike has done more damage to FSU than Willie and Jimbo did? I mean, I will let the chat probably answer that one. When you say more damage, like okay, let's take Jimbo out of it. I mean, Jimbo wins a natty. My biggest indictment on Mike Norvell, my biggest problem with Mike, if I'm being quite honest with you, is Jimbo won a natty in spite of not having the financial support. That's why he wanted to dip, because he saw where college football was going. He wanted Florida State to follow suit. FSU wanted to be cheap. He did. He left for Texas A&M. The grass wasn't greener. He got all the resources he could ask for, and was worse at A&M. But at the end of the day, that's still what he did. Willie was bad in a lot of ways, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Willie didn't have half of the support that Mike Norvell has. My biggest problem with Mike Norvell is you have all of that. You have a organization that is fully invested right now. You see what they're doing with stadium upgrades. You still got this $500 million football only facility. You've paid coordinators competitive salaries with what is Adam Fuller makes like $2 million. I think Atkins makes over $1 million. So you're paying your coordinators competitive salaries. You're paying Mike a top 5 salary. Yeah, absolutely. Like, Norvell has all the resources behind him. You even have NIL to benefit you now. You have battles in that benefit you now. The stuff that none of these guys had. And to have this type of season in year 5 is something that I cannot. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I think even the biggest Mike Norvell fan would have to look at it and be honest with themselves. Like, you can't justify this. So, with that said, has he done more damage than the other 2 coaches? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, a lot of records have been broken under Mike Norvell's watch, and not in the good way. So, again, I'll leave that up for the chat. I can see an argument either way. (14-14) Colorado, Cincinnati. Looks like you're going to be in for a good one here tonight. Again, hit the like button, guys. I agree with Dang Bang. Like, when you start talking about some of this stuff, like this season is inexcusable, 100%. Whether it was, starting 0-4 and losing to Duke yeah. I think we've talked about it before. I think the worst thing that happened to Florida State was the Travis Hunter thing, because it's followed suit every year since. I think if you land Hunter, I think that sets the tone for Norvell and that staff that they can go out there and they can get an elite prospect. They've tried to recruit elite prospects and they completely haven't done that. And again, every year, their top guy in their class, KJ Bolden, elite prospect. I don't know if anybody's been watching Keldrick. I haven't been watching Keldrick Falk this year. Somebody told me, like, this guy's playing good. So then I tune in and pay attention. Keldrick Falk looks like a first-round pick, man. Guys like that, we can't land, right? We can't land these guys. And I think a lot of it just stems from the Hunter debacle, unfortunately. And now that staff has that dark cloud over them until they break through and finally sign a guy, and I don't know who that guy's gonna be. I don't know how they fix it. I don't know how they fix it. Bad records have been broken by this goof, losing to Duke, Jacksonville State, going 13-0, now 1-7. Yeah, I don't know how the 1-7 thing. And again, year 5, this is your team, this is your plan, this is your grand design. You've recruited everybody here, you've hired everybody here. Again, you have all the resources at your disposal. FSU has not been cheap for Mike Norvell. And I think that is, I really think that is why he will be forced to make staff changes this offseason. Like he has to. He has to. I'd be very interested to know what happened. 1-7 doesn't happen by accident, in my opinion. Something happened to this on this staff. Something happened to this football team that we don't know. We won't know. Like everything, right? All this stuff won't come to light until after the fact, whether Mike Norvell's fired eventually or whatever. We won't know what happened this year until after the fact because that's just the way the game is played. And guys that claim to know, they'll sit on the information and all that good stuff. The guys that do know, they kind of have to sit on that information. But something happened. Something happened to this team. I don't know what it was. But again, 1-7 doesn't happen by accident. I get you lost players that you lost. But 1-7 doesn't happen by accident. I think something happened that made this team kind of go downhill. Is Duke about to win? I thought SMU was gonna get that game, but So yeah, again, Miami beat FSU in one of the most lackluster rivalry weeks I can remember, especially since I've started this channel. Like, some of that had to do with the fact that I was in the process of coming back to the States, so I couldn't really do anything up to the lead up to this game, and just seeing everybody on social media, like. Didn't seem like a lot of people were engaged. Even Miami fans, like it's like even they knew like this game, like they want to brag about it, and I get it. They have all the right to. But I really feel like there's a portion of them that are just like, huh? Like you don't watch this Florida State team and go, that's a team I want to watch. Like, and that's what this game really came down to tonight, in my opinion. Like. This was not a good game, man. It was a very lackluster game to watch tonight. But if we talk about the bright spots in this game again, I thought Omar Graham played outstanding. I thought Luke Kromenhoek had some good throws. Again, we're going to keep going to the 2 quarterback system until they fix the O-line. Which, again, in year 5, the fact that we're saying fix the O-line, that's a major problem. And we've talked about, again, why that is. That's a killer that we just cannot get that O-line situated. And some of that just comes from the fact of, like, again, you're relying on, like, why is Maurice Smith so bad? You've played more college football than most players in the country. Why did Darius Washington, Darius Washington had a tremendous year last year. What happened in the offseason that Darius completely fell off of a cliff? Is he playing hurt? And like, what is going on there? Just a lot of questions, man. A lot of questions. So, then again, we talk about Miami. Miami's kind of on the inside track now, or they're one of the Clemson, Miami. I think Pitt and SMU. They're like the 4 teams right now in the ACC. I think it's going to end up being. I don't know, man. Don't sleep on Pitt, man. Pitt's got a good team. But if I had to put my money, I would say Miami and Clemson in the ACC title game. And Miami still might make the playoff even if they lose that game, because I don't see Miami losing a regular season game. I don't really see Miami losing a regular season game unless Duke's got a defense, right? So, but they don't have an offense. That Duke game might look very similar to our game. Bro, what kind of what is that? Anyway, it says the staff is lazy, either in recruiting development, light switch mentality. Pitt's got a good team. Don't sleep on the Pitt Panthers for sure. I mean, I'll let you guys decide in the chat. Do y'all want to continue to talk about this football game? Do we just want to? Where do y'all want to take this conversation? Because there's just not a lot to talk about. This has been. I'll be honest with you. This has been the hardest year for me in these instant reactions, and not because we're losing. I can talk ball if we're losing. I promise you, I can. We're so absolutely anemic on offense. How old am I? Adam, how old are we? Because me and Adam birthday are 2 days apart. How old are we, Adam? What are we, 36? Be 37 next year, right? So I've been watching college ball for a long time. I've never seen an offense like this. Definitely not wearing this logo, but just in general. And I watch a lot of college football. Like I'm one of those, man, where I will watch Western Kentucky and Kent State on a Thursday night just because it's on TV. And I'll sit there and watch it like it's the damn national championship. Like I'll watch it. And I've never seen an offense look like this. They can't do anything right on offense. I've never seen an offense look like this. Yeah, like, hell, even Iowa, right? Who's been known to have terrible offenses. Like, we are just, man, we can't do anything. And that's what's made this year the hardest year for me to cover this team. Because there's literally nothing to talk about. Every player that you thought was going to be decent for you really hasn't shown up. Whether that's defensively, and Patrick Payton, oh man, just doesn't have any pass rushing moves. Marvin Jones Jr. Again, AZ, a good cover corner, man, but he lacks in a run support game. Fentrell Cypress is just food. He's BBQ chicken, man. Like all the guys that we should be talking about, there's nothing to talk about. And so now we're talking about these freshmen, which is fine, but the freshmen are having freshman moments. The freshmen are, we don't see enough of Luke because Luke's not taking every snap. We see glimpses. But the truth is, when you have two quarterbacks, you have none. FSU doesn't have a quarterback right now. We have, we have a terrible spade hand. We got two possibles. We have no books. We got two possibles. Probably one possible. And in a really, really, really if the cards land right, maybe that's another possible. Like, we don't have a quarterback. So I'm not against them running the two quarterback system because at this point you don't have one. You don't have an offense. You don't have an offensive line. This season's been a disaster in a lot of ways. And it's hard to get on here every Saturday and honestly talk about this stuff, if I'm being honest with you. They're boring. They're boring. I wish it'd be you know what, man? If we were losing in shootouts because our defense was atrocious, I'd rather cover that. It's hard for me to get on here and talk about this stuff. So I would, please get in the comment section and let's drive the conversation, because I literally get on here every Saturday and tell you O-line's bad. We don't run the football. We don't have a quarterback. I like some things I saw to Brock Glenn. I like some things I saw to Luke Cromenholt. But ultimately, they're both a work in progress. Defense is bend and don't break. We got some good, promising young guys on defense, but our major hitters aren't hitting. This is every Saturday I get on here. Every Saturday I get on here and say the same things. I know y'all tired of hearing it because I'm tired of saying it. I know y'all are. I know y'all tired of hearing it because I'm tired of saying it. What is going on here? I just saw SMU. So they're in a shootout now. SMU and Duke in a shootout. Crazy. The fact that not only can the offense do shit, but the offense is ranked. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I think the problem is our strength and conditioning. I don't think it is. I think our problem is scheme. X's and O's. Honestly. Offensively and defensively. I think that's our problem. Especially defensively. Our defensive stuff, again, our D-line, we like I said before, we don't run stunts. As far as defense goes, like we just rush for. We don't pull, we don't run stunts, we don't do anything exotic up front. We don't do anything exotic in the back. Like, I'm watching this game, and one thing we know is that Cam Ward is good for giving you an interception or two because he likes to play hero ball at times. And like a lot of good quarterbacks, they trust their arm to make every throw, and that gets them in trouble. That's not necessarily a knock on Cam. That's just what it is. But FSU doesn't play a defensive scheme that makes anything look different for a guy like Cam Ward. For any quarterback, for that matter. So you wonder why FSU doesn't get a lot of interceptions, why they don't cause a lot of turnovers. There's no exotic looks on defense. They don't show pressure from one side on a blitz and back off and bring the blitz from another angle. They don't do anything exotic defensively that makes an offense have to adjust, that makes an offense have to, that they don't give an offense a look pre-snap, and then that look is totally different once the ball is, like, they don't do any of that. What you see is what you get. That's why teams can just do what they, teams can methodically run down the field on. That's why we get, I think in the first half, FSU had 3 offensive possessions. That's in two quarters, we had the ball 3 times. So not only is our offense bad, our offense can't get on the field because our defense isn't necessarily giving up big plays, right? But they can't get off the field because teams can dink and dunk us down. Like we said, bend don't break defense. That's what we've chose to play. So no, I think schematically is our biggest problem, especially defense. I think offensively, if you're strictly talking about, Jen, like the O-line, again, I don't think it's a strength and conditioning as much as that's talent. As much as it's, like, people have been saying it all year. FSU plays like legitimately 5 guards on the O-line. They haven't been able to recruit legit tackles. So there's a lack of talent at certain areas too. But we've seen guys get the gains. We've seen guys. Even a guy like Patrick Payton. Patrick Payton came into college 190 pounds, man. He's a 240-pound DN now. So strength and conditioning is doing something. Joshua Farmer's another one. He was a 260-pound DN out of high school. He's a 310-pound, defensive tackle right now. So, no, I don't think strength and conditioning is the problem. I think X's and O's and scheme, personnel usage. I think coaching is the problem. I think stuff like strength and conditioning, general manager, I think all that is scapegoat stuff. I think all of those are cop-outs. The truth is, the X's and O's are losing football games. Misevaluating players is losing football games. Not only in recruiting, but actually misevaluating the players that you see every day in practice is losing football games. Duke lost. Absolutely. Defense stays on the field. That's some of the defense fault, and that's some of the offense's fault too, but absolutely. So that's why we need a complete overhaul on our staff. Right? So you got to get the talent, which has been documented that certain position groups, like our skill position groups, are fine as far as talent wise, in my opinion. But we got to get more talent, at the big boy positions, at the line of scrimmage. People now want to come around to this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to this comment in a minute because you're absolutely right. But I've talked about this too. But I want to come back to that. We got to get. I've spoken about this at length, ad nauseum, and people told me, just get guys and we'll develop them. We don't have elite talent in the defensive line. Like, where's the difference maker? Where's Timmy Jernigan at? Where's Mario Edwards at? Like, where are those legit guys? We recruit 3-star guys and hope they pan out. Like, legitimately, that's what we do. Once we got to get back to getting those type of guys, man. We got to get back to getting guys that we don't need 3 years of development before we see them. So you do have to recruit guys who can play day one. Some freshmen can play day one, as we see around all of college football. There are guys that can get on the field and play football for you. Jeremiah Smith might be I never thought we were getting Jeremiah Smith. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, Jeremiah Smith might be the best receiver in college football right now. And Cincinnati just got stopped on a 4th and 1. I'm not a fan of that play call right there from Cincinnati. But Jeremiah Smith might be the best receiver in college football right now. And the only guy that probably has an argument with Jeremiah Smith is that boy out of Missouri. Like he's that guy. He's that guy. And we got to get back to getting guys like that. And I don't even care about receivers because you can get production out of receivers. I need guys on that O-line, man. I need guys on that D-line that at least have 5-star, high 4-star potential. We haven't been recruiting that. Y'all can't even name me the last big-time defensive lineman we recruited. At least on the O-line, we got a guy in Lucas Simmons who I think has all the measurables of an NFL tackle at 6'8", 6'9", whatever he is. We just got to get him in that strength and conditioning like someone mentioned earlier and see can we get that guy on the field. Last year, apparently he was hurt, so he didn't get that strength and conditioning. So that's why we haven't seen him this year. I think you hold off on him this year. Don't rush him out there. But definitely next year he should be competing for some playing time. At least you got Lucas Simmons. Because outside of that, I mean, what do you got on offense? That's my issue. It's like who do you look at and go, this guy can play in the NFL? We're not recruiting those type of guys, man. And then to this comment, like I said, I wanted to get to, we don't play complementary football. What's our identity? Defensively, I don't know what our identity is, and offensively, I don't know what our identity is. It's hard to play complementary football when you don't have an identity. I've been talking about that all year too. FSU doesn't know. We don't know what we're running. I don't know offensively what we are or defensively what we are. Absolutely. Got to upgrade the trenches. Yeah, Jared Verse is a dog, man. Guys like Jermaine and Jared Verse, like those are the guys that FSU can hang. The problem with those guys is those were portal guys. Problem with those guys was those were portal guys. FSU hasn't recruited out of high school the likes of a Jermaine Johnson or Jared Verse. Yeah, those are another guys you can name, right? Like people can say what they want to say about Jimbo. And look, I have my problems with Jimbo, and mostly my problems with Jimbo is the way he left the program. I was never mad that Jimbo. I wasn't mad that Jimbo wanted to leave. I don't blame him, knowing the situation. But to completely stop doing your job and leave the way he left was always the part that was bitter for me. But Jimbo, I mean, just the names y'all see on the screen. Brian Burns, Josh Sweat, again, Mario Edwards, Timmy Jernigan. Like, I'm probably missing Derek Nandi. I'm probably missing a bunch of guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm missing a ton of names. Eddie Goldman. This man was recruiting Joshua Kando. I know Kando didn't necessarily pan out. And Colorado, how do you let Travis Hunter get behind you like that? Shout out to Colorado, man. Colorado's been fun to watch this year. And Colorado's going to success is just going to keep that Dion talk alive. But we don't recruit those type of guys is the point. We don't recruit those type of guys anymore. And that's the problem. I'll let y'all talk about it. I talked about it 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. People told me I was crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Odell, he's the man. Again, this Odell thing is 6 years in the making. Everybody just wants to jump on the bandwagon right now. We got to go out to Colorado State and get a Grady Kelly because of this. Because of this. I want Jimbo back. Yeah, DeMarcus Walker. Absolutely. So again, I got my problems with Jimbo, and again, it's about how he left the program. But when Jimbo was invested, I mean, the outcomes was the outcomes. Like we know what he was capable of. So, and again, I'm just strictly talking about the front seven. You know, I want to talk about the trenches because that's where you make or break a team. You know, so until we can get back to some type of semblance to that, this might be what it is. FSU's got to get back to recruiting to some caliber some of these guys, and then fixing these get a defense that looks more like a Florida State defense. I think that's kind of where it can all start. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they pulled the trigger on Fuller. I think they will pull the trigger on. I don't think they'll fire Odell. I have a sneaky suspicion that Odell will be retired. Like, and that's another thing. Like, people keep talking about Odell, and he's a legend, and he's deserved and earned the right to walk out on his own terms. Bobby Bowden earned the right to walk out on his own terms. Bobby Bowden deserved the right to walk out on his own terms. If there was any coach that could deserve the right to walk out on his own terms was him. And they didn't give him that right, did they? They forced retired that man. Everybody knows Bobby was not ready to hang it up when they forced retired him and gave Jimbo the head coaching job. Everybody knows when FSU hired Jimbo as offensive coordinator, he was the head coach in waiting, and they wanted that sooner rather than later. So if Bobby Bowden can be pushed out, someone's got to explain to me what's this whole infatuation with Odell deserves X, Y, and Z. Please somebody explain that to me. I don't want to harp on this Odell thing, but that's just, there's something that really makes my ass itch. It really makes my ass itch with all this Odell deserves X, Y, and Z, and he deserves to be able to walk out on his own terms. FSU already set a precedent with the man who built this from the ground up. But Odell deserves, again, that just kind of, that makes my ass itch. But whatever. If Odell is being stubborn, make him an analyst or make his ass go. I'm sorry. To hell with the analyst. To hell with all of that. Make his ass go. I don't think Randy gets fired, man. With the way his line, no, you got to get right. And I get it. I get what you're trying to say. I promise you, I do, because Omar Graham has turned that corner. Blake Nicholson has continued to show progress. I get what you're saying. The young line, I think we saw some of DeMarco Ward, but he ended up getting hurt, if I'm not mistaken, so he left the game. But you saw a little bit of DeMarco Ward. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of these other guys, to Tamir Hicks Collins and then the Parishes, and maybe you see some of these other guys. So I understand what you're trying to say, but no, Randy's got to go. Because even though I like the way Omar Graham's playing right now, even though I like it, even though I like the way Blake Nichols is playing right now, bro, you got to get the talent in there. We can't keep missing on linebackers. We cannot keep signing the 700th linebacker in the country. We can't keep signing those type of guys. We got to make that move. And if you're not gonna fire Fuller, you got to get rid of Randy. Maybe you promote Surtain to co-OC, maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe you just bring in a guy, but you got to bring in something. Kansas State beats Kansas in a close one, 29-27. By the way, Kansas was a 2-win team. I don't know why Florida State just can't. Why we can't have games like that? But that's because we can't score points. You can't score points. You can't have games like that, because getting to 14 points is a milestone for a Florida State football team. John, how are you? Thank you. Zay, stop acting like that offense was. Zay, salute to you, bro. Y'all won. You have the right to say what you want to say. But this notion that you acting like Miami was just moving the ball up and down the field is kind of funny. Like, you talking like Miami put 50, or you talking like Miami put 40 on the board. Miami just scored again. Stop it. They might have kicked another field goal again. All I'm gonna say is be prepared to see some of these impact players transfer. Maybe it's possible. I mean, it's college football in 2024 going into 2025. Absolutely, like you should expect guys, because we already know how that's going to play out. There will be pitches made to There will be pitches made. There will be. Let's say Omar Graham continues this tear. And I'm not saying he would transfer, but there's going to be a school out there that says, "Oh, number 9, you want to play for a team that just won 2 games, or you want to come over here and we'll drop the absolutely some of our young impact guys will be able to be vetted by other teams." So no, you're definitely not wrong, Ahmad. Shout out to Mike Elko, by the way. Now, granted, Jimbo did leave, a bunch of talent on that team for him. But shout out to Elko, man. John, that's not look. When I say that's not an accomplishment, you have watched Florida State football all year, right? Like that. death, taxes, the sun rising and the sun falling, and FSU scoring about 14 points and under 200 yards of total offense and averaging like 2 yards a carry, that's money. That's you can write that in permanent marker, permanent Sharpie. Like those things are gonna happen, my man. If I'm Surtain, and that's, I mean, yeah, I think he definitely could. If he's interested in that, if he's interested in a head coaching job, I don't know why he wouldn't be. I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't. If you're looking at a team like Southern Miss, that hire makes a lot of sense for them. He's a former. He went to that school. He has Florida ties. Even though he doesn't have any coordinating, that doesn't matter. He's an NFL guy who coached in the NFL. Obviously, was a pro in the NFL. That hire makes a lot of sense for Southern Miss. The question is, how much are they going to pay him? And if FSU really wants to keep him, what are you going to do to keep? You can't just say you got to stay the DB because you got to make him. Again, you got to make him a DC, a co-DC at a minimum, and up his pay if you want to keep him. Because I think Southern Miss, personally, if I'm Southern Miss, that should probably be the number one guy on my board. It would be Patrick Surtain because you're Southern Miss. You're not going to get a bigger name than Patrick Surtain to coach your football team. Like that should be the number one guy on their board as far as I'm concerned. Because who else are you going to get to coach the Southern Miss Golden Eagles? They're the Golden Eagles, right? I think they're the Golden Eagles. But Southern, like who are you going to get? Some no-name coach from FC? Like who you really going to get? But if you want to turn that program around or just try to make that program, you want to get an alumni, all-pro, big name, Florida ties. That hire makes too much sense to me if I'm Southern Miss. He'd be number one on my board. He said, I don't watch NFL. I'm about to stop watching college. I'm tired of this. Anthony, I hear you. That's a good point. That's a good comparison. I remember Caleb Loach had a lot of struggles early on, and eventually it kind of clicked. I mean, you're probably watching the same thing with Omar Graham, where it just Omar Graham looked unplayable early in the year. Anybody disagree? Like Omar Graham looked like a guy who shouldn't be wearing helmets and pads. Like he just didn't look like he knew what the hell he was doing, right? Something's clicked. The game has slowed down. He now knows and understands what and where and when and why. Make DC. Hell, he can call it back in. Somebody. I don't disagree with you. Not only would I make him to DC, I would say, hey, call some of your buddies in the NFL, see if you can convince them to come coach on this staff, because I think that's one of the major things missing from this staff, from an X's and O's standpoint. Now, we know they need recruiters, but they also need guys who can coach. And like we talk about, Randy can coach, but Randy can't recruit. But we need NFL guys on the staff. You know what I'm saying? So. No, he was absolutely terrible. That's what I'm saying. Not only Georgia Tech was, yeah, but he wasn't very good in the other games leading after Georgia Tech. And again, but he's gotten better. So Graham looking pretty good, man. Graham looking pretty good. Okay, Zay says, I've become watching. I don't remember the last time we put 230 rushing yards on an FSU team. Again, congratulations. Congratulations. I don't know what you want me to. Again, you say we put up 230. You don't remember last time? Do you remember last time a Florida State team? That's a better question for you, Zay, since you've been watching this rivalry for so long. When's the last time you've seen a Florida State team be 1-7, 1-6, 1-5, 1-4, 1-3? Hell, When's the last time you seen an FSU team be this bad? That's the better question. One of the biggest surprises of the year, if we're just talking ball, that Indiana team, man. I know I'm living in the twilight zone. When Florida State Seminoles are 1-7 and the Indiana Hoosiers are 8-0 and 5-0. Like, that's crazy. Shout out to the Indiana Hoosiers, bro. I'm living in the twilight zone. The Vanderbilt Commodores they're losing, but they are a competitive football team. They go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the country, week in and week out. This season is bananas in all kind of ways. If I would have told you at the beginning of the year, the Indiana Hoosiers and the Vanderbilt Commodores would be better than the Seminoles, nobody would believe me. Thank you. Like, let's just go get the whole Indiana. They're winning. Indiana's a basketball school. Them boys are undefeated in what most people would consider the best or second best conference in football, the Big Ten. How? That's what I want to know. I want to know how Indiana is this good. Because they're not only winning, like they're killing teams. Indiana is blowing teams out. Like, they look like a playoff team, man. That is crazy. That is crazy. Jesus Christ, freaking Indiana and Vandy being good came out of nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Navy. The military schools. I think Navy just lost this week to Notre Dame. I think Army's undefeated still, though. I could be wrong, but I think both the military academies are undefeated. Of course, Navy just lost today, but Army's ranked. Yeah, Army's undefeated right now, man. Like, what is going on? Indiana, Vanderbilt, Army, Navy, and Florida State sitting at 1-7. This isn't the college football I grew up on. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. This is crazy. But yeah, y'all hit the like button. Y'all hit the like button. Again, this is 1-7. 1-7. Took the L. But I will say again, I'm not sitting here trying to, what's it called? Dang, I just had a brain freeze. What's it called? I'm not trying to like ease the loss. Or make excuses or damn. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm just losing the words I'm trying to get out. But I expected a worse. I expected this game to be worse. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Miami was gonna throw 50. I legit thought Miami was gonna throw 50 on this. I really did. And watching that game play out in real time, I need some new headphones, by the way. Watching that game play out in real time, I was kind of shocked. I don't know if shock's the right word. But I was kind of shocked, man, that Miami struggled as much as they did. Again, I was shocked that FSU was able to get the amount of pressure they were able to get. And again, Miami fans, congrats. But there's no way I think y'all are watching the football team against a 1-7 FSU and thinking that y'all really want to see Georgia? Y'all really want to see that? Hell, do y'all really want to see Bama? Like, we talking about Bama. Bama's a 2-loss team. Y'all really want to see Bama? I don't know if y'all really want to see that. I'm going to be real with you. Oregon? Y'all want to see Oregon? Y'all don't want to see Ohio State. I know y'all say y'all do, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not so sure, Miami fans. I'm not so sure. Shout out to Bronny James, Master Bricklayer, for the $5. He says, we're the worst Power 4 team. South Dakota, North Dakota would have no problem. You're 100% right. I can't get my thing back on. You're 100% right, though. Terrible Power 4 team.
More money, yeah, more money, yeah.
It's actually a pretty decent question. Is Derek Nicholson a possible DC? Well, the way he's got his Miami linebackers playing, I think he has, if FSU was to make a move, bringing in a former Florida State, I mean, that might be a move. I wouldn't be against it. At this point, man, I wouldn't be against I'm saying this as a person who, and I want to say this clearly, Adam Fuller has outperformed Mike Norvell's offense. In a lot of ways, man, Adam Fuller, if I'm being 100% honest with you, is not the number one issue as far as the coaching staff goes. He's not. I'm going to be honest with you. Adam Fuller is not that. He, unfortunately, though, has probably the most talent at his disposal. Florida State defenses have a specific standard, thanks to the great Mickey Andrews, who's arguably the best defensive mind in college football history. And the problem is that his defenses they are too simple, not aggressive enough. But Adam Fuller is not the number one problem to the Florida State Seminoles. And in fact, he's outperformed Mike Norvell almost pretty much every year. This team is resilient. You talk about Miami's resilient? Hey, look, all things considered, Zay, and you know me, I'm honest, man. I tell my jokes. I say what I say, but if I'm honest. Good teams win football games, and I'm not saying Miami's not a good team. Miami's a good team. You did a good job. I think Cam Ward made the difference because, frankly, I think without Cam Ward, this team probably looks a lot similar to last year's team. If we're being honest. This team probably looks a lot similar to last year's team without Cam Ward. But good, and so you upgrade it, and I believe quarterback changes the entire dynamic of a football team, which is why I was so adamant of sitting DJU on the bench. Yes, FSU has more problems than DJU, but just quarterback, even with the young guys, you can see that the FSU players want to play for the young guys. Like, quarterback changes the dynamic of a football team. Miami's a good football team. Good football teams find a way to win games. Are they a great football team? I don't believe so. There's too many chinks in the armor that I see. And that's just my humble opinion. Specifically on, like, you can say what you want to about last year's football team. FSU had a championship level defense, and we all know what defenses do. Okay? And the offense was good enough with Jordan Travis. Now, you could argue, once he got hurt, we know the offense took a dip. Whether or not we could have carried that momentum into the playoff, obviously we'll never know. But I believe that was a championship caliber defense. I think your offense is really good. I don't think it's championship caliber, and I damn sure don't think your defense. Like if we let's just compare the two teams, I don't believe your offense is as good as FSU's defense was last year. And I damn sure don't think your defense is as good as FSU's offense. You get what I'm saying? So I believe, again, good team, major chinks in the armor. I don't think your defense is good enough to win a championship. You guys aren't 2019 LSU where your offense can overcome a mediocre to poor defense. You're a good team. You'll probably make the playoff, even if you lose to Clemson or whoever in the ACC championship. Hell, you might win the ACC, but I think the buck stops there. I think once you play the major players in the college football landscape, I think Miami will, we'll take an L. But at the end of the day, you should still be proud of your team. And that's me being completely honest with you. Got another super chat here from the master bricklayer himself. The shot of Norvell looking up to the sky for God for answers. Pretty. I'm glad you brought that up. And again, I appreciate the $5. I'm glad you brought that up though, because hold on before I go. But thank you for the $5, Bronny James, master bricklayer.
The money goes into my piggy bank.
I have a problem with Norvell doing that, man. And I know he's frustrated and he's only human and he's going to show his emotion. I get all of that, man. I really do. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm expecting him to be some type of robot. But you can't, as a leader of a football team, as a leader of anything, I don't care if it's football. Hell, I don't care if it's military. Hell, I don't care if it's a grocery store. You can't show that level of frustration because your players see that, man. Your players see that. And I know you're frustrated. But if you are showing that level of just like your players see that. And how do you expect them to respond knowing that their coach is pretty much out of it? Like, something's wrong with Norv. Again, something's wrong. I don't know what happened this offseason. Did the snub really break this man? I tend to think not. I think that's crazy to think of, but hell, maybe he did. Maybe it did. Maybe I'm nitpicking here. I don't believe I am. You can tell me in the comments if y'all agree with me. I don't like seeing that from my head. I'd much rather you, man, go grab somebody and yell at them for no reason. I'd much rather you go chew somebody out on the sideline just to get the frustration out than to kind of just wave the white flag in that moment, which to me, that's if I'm a guy on that team, if I'm a guy in that huddle, if I'm in that locker room, and that's my guy is looking like that. That's a sign of quitting. If I'm being like that's, and again, I get it. I know he's frustrated. I know he's pissed. But I don't like that. I don't like that from an optics standpoint at all. I really don't. Speaking, just coming from a person who has been in charge of other men, you can't show that. Not if you want to keep the respect of them individuals. Not if you want to keep them individuals engaged and working for you and doing what they have to do. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's just me though. Fire Odell. Nick Saban. Let's not compare Mike Norvell and Nick Saban. I can't recall a time seeing that. Nor can I. See, here's the problem, Pyro. Show me a time that Alabama or any Nick Saban team was 1-7. See, it's one thing to show the frustration when you're 8-0, the guys aren't playing up to par, and you're pissed off on the sideline, and you're cussing guys. That's not an issue. You can't show that level. You can't show that level at 1-7, dog. You can't do that. I'm sorry. You can't do that. Please don't bring Nick Saban into that type of. Come on. Try again. That brother was praying to Jesus. All I can do is laugh. I mean, I get it. It's not funny. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I don't want to laugh. No, sir, not me. I hope he retires. I don't care if he retires anyway. Force him to retire. He covered the whole Odell portion. FSU was a blue blood. We're not a blue blood. This might come as a surprise to Florida State fans. FSU is a prestigious program, don't get me wrong. But when I consider blue bloods, I consider programs that have kind of been around for the beginning of kind of like college football time, right? I don't consider FSU a blue blood personally. I think there's legitimately only 5 blue bloods in college football. Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, and like Nebraska. Those are legit, like maybe Texas and Oklahoma, so maybe 7. Like those are your real blue blood programs. Outside of that, I don't believe that FSU is a blue blood. I don't think Miami or Florida are blue bloods. Georgia's not a blue blood program, right? Damn sure Oregon's not. I mean, we're talking about programs that go back since Jim Crow. Like those are blue blood programs, in my opinion. That doesn't mean Florida State's not prestigious. That doesn't mean Florida State isn't a top tier program. I just don't think they're. I think that term blue blood gets thrown out too much. I think I just named all 7 of them. I think there's only legit 7 blue blood programs in the country, and that's those teams. And that doesn't mean they're all good. Like Nebraska's been down forever, but they're still a blue blood program. I think they have like 5 national championships themselves. Obviously, Michigan, Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Like those are the blue bloods. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It's not about it being a secret, Pyro. Again, I don't know. Maybe I just can't explain it to you for a way for you to understand. Maybe just us coming from different perspectives. Obviously, yes, frustration happens in everything. That doesn't mean you show it as the leader. And I guess if you can't understand that, then you just never have been in that position, in my opinion. And that's okay. It's not a knock. I'm just saying, like, everybody's frustrated. But as the head coach, you can't. I just don't believe you can show that level of frustration. You can't show that and then expect your team to like rally. Like that's just how I look at it. USC, you could I forgot about USC. You could probably throw USC in there too. So that's 8. I said Notre Dame already. That probably ends with USC though. Norvell used some of the same words. I don't even know why. I'll read it, Jen, but come on. Are we still listening to Norvell say the same stuff over and over? Anyway, Norvell used some of the same words in the press. Fortunate, disappointing. I would like to hear him say more about chances he's going changes. I think is what you're trying to changes he's going to make. Yeah. I don't think Penn State's a blue blood. Sorry. What does Penn State have? One national champion? I know Coach Paterno won one natty. I mean, I'll look it up, but I don't consider Penn State a blue blood. And then the last champion. Yeah, let me. I just want to look that up real quick. I'm sorry. They have two national championships. That's not they're 82 and 86. So yeah, no, Penn State's not a blue blood. Penn State's not a blue blood. But I'm gonna get up out of here. We went 2 hours strong, and yeah, I'm good. At the end of the day, Norvell robbed us for money. Hey, it is what it is. I did say Michigan. Michigan is definitely a blue blood. Again, the blue bloods in college football. Again, there's I think we counted 8. USC, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Nebraska. I'm forgetting 2. Dang it. I said Texas and Oklahoma. Those are probably the 8 blue blood programs in college football. After that, that's it. But hit the like button, guys. Share the video. I'm back, as you can see. And I plan on getting more of this content out there now that I'm back. I'm probably going to restart. I know some people liked it. Not everybody watched it, and that's fine. But I'll probably have start another College Football 25 series, get that going, where I fire Mike Norvell and play all the young guys. So no DJU. I play all the young guys. Luke Crum and Hogan, I'm going to play all the young guys in the dynasty mode, and let's see what I can do, how we build that program from there. I might do something like that. All the good things coming to the channel. All the good things coming after this season, hopefully. As always, man, it's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy, Seminoles. And we are out here. Go Noles. Good job, Miami. You guys got bragging rights for a year. I know this, probably doesn't feel as good as it should to y'all because you lost, but you beat a 1-7 football team. So congratulations to that. Miami gets a year of bragging rights. And it really doesn't matter. I'm out, guys.